Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. In today's video, we are taking a first look at a frame from a brand that you probably haven't heard of before, which is Rinasclta. Okay, let's all say with me together, Rinasclta. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the brand, we're going to be talking about the specs on this frame, and of course, my plans for this build. And I also have a discount code for you guys to save 8% off your purchase from the Rinasclta website. Oh, and by the way, if you are new to my channel, my name is Patrick Lino, and I am a cyclist here in the Chicagoland area who builds bikes, who does bike reviews. And if you ask yourself so far watching this video, hey Patty, the letter A is missing from the word Rinasclta. Well, your wife is missing the D, but you don't see me complaining about that, do you? So without further ado, let's begin. So a quick overview. Who is Rinasclta? Rinasclta is a brand based in Europe with their frame OEM factory being located in Shenzhen, China, and their wheel factory being located in Xiamen, China. Now, all of this is pretty typical for a brand like this. However, one thing that's interesting to note about this brand is they have a shareholder or ownership in two factories. Now, why is having ownership in a factory important? Well, rather than just being an agent who simply buys frames from a factory and then slaps a logo on the frame, having ownership means that you get to have more control over the production process as well as the quality control. And you can somewhat dictate to that factory who can have access or shared in your frame design as well as the frame molding. So in the case with the Rinasclta Granite or Granite frame set that you see behind me, there's only one other company that's offering this exact frame set, and of course it's within the same OEM factory. However, with the other brand, you probably won't get the same level of customer service as well as post-sale support. So basically, when a brand says that they own their own factory, what they probably mean is that they simply have ownership in the factory. And if you're a brand like Specialized, where you're big and mighty, you can basically dictate and bully everything that you want to happen in a factory. So for example, if a factory doesn't meet the quality specs agreed upon in the contract, not only can Specialized simply not pay that factory for those frames that have been manufactured, but they can simply just take their business elsewhere to another factory. Now, I know all of that sounds kind of savage, but that's just the way the bike industry works. Next up, what is the Rinasclta Granite or Granite frame set? So this is the brand's all-road aero frame set, which is a trend we're starting to see in the bike industry as of recently, especially among the major brands. So basically, you have an aero frame set, as you can tell by the tube shapes. However, this frame has the tire clearance of up to 38 seat tires. So this actually could be the one frame to rule them all, in my opinion. Now, prices for the frame set at the time of this video ranges from $800 to about $1,000 USD, depending on paint options and whether or not you decide to purchase a set of their integrated handlebars. Alrighty, boys and girls, let's go ahead and get everything weighted out so that we have a benchmark. But before we do, big shout out to Bill Withers live at Carnegie Hall. Fantastic artist. If you haven't heard of him, shame on you. Anyway, let's get started. You just keep on using me until you use me up. First up, we're going to do the frame itself. Now, keep in mind for the frame that the frame is unpainted. I've removed all of the metal hardware, including the bottle cages, the bolts themselves. What else? Actually, the front derailleur hanger and the rear derailleur hanger is still included. Also, the plastic inner cable guys as well. Now, even though the frame is unpainted, painting usually adds about 100 grams or so. So just keep that in mind. And this is for a size 54 frame set. So for the frame itself, unpainted, we have 1,042 grams. Next up, let's go ahead and weigh out the seat post. Again, unpainted, and the mount for the saddle is included. All right, and that comes at 179 grams. Uncut fork, again, unpainted. So for the uncut fork, we have 437 grams. And last but not least is the carbon aero handlebars. Carbon handlebars, yikes, we have 250 grams. So let's continue. Now, here is my take on the whole all-road aero frame set concept. So here in Chicago, within, I would say, about a 3 to 4 hour drive, there really aren't any roads that require anything wider than the 38C tires. However, most road bikes these days usually fit up to 32C tires. And we have these rough road races around here, like Rough Road 100 or Barry-Roubaix, where aerodynamics are still extremely important, but the tire clearance needs to accommodate something bigger than the 32C tire, just in case the road conditions on race day are pretty bad. So if the roads, for example, aren't dry and say they're muddy or they're snowy or just wet in general, you're gonna need something that's gonna be wider than the 32C tire. Now, I do have a dedicated gravel bike, but truthfully, it's mostly overkill in the places that I ride locally. And the geometry, in my opinion, is more suited for exploring and bike packing than it is for actual road racing. So when Rinasclta agreed to work together, I was pretty excited because I think this frame is going to be extremely versatile, especially for customers who either don't have the space or simply just don't have the budget to have a wide variety of bikes in their collection. Now, at the time of this video, I haven't found a lot of affordable brands offering up this type of all-road aero frame set. Of course, you have brands like Specialized with their Crux, you have Trek with their Domane, and you have Factor with their Ostro gravel, but those frames are wildly expensive. I want to say they're probably like $3,000 to $5,000 USD, which is basically out of the budget for most of us sort of everyday average riders. So I think Rinasclta is going to have a huge advantage in this regard, being able to offer something that a lot of people will be able to afford. Plus, Rinasclta also offers custom paint options, which I think is really cool. Moving on to my initial impressions of the frame set. Now, when I opened up the box, I could tell right away that there was a really good attention to detail, and all of the small finishings really add up to a frame that appears to be, in fact, from an actual OEM factory. Now, initially, the frame, I would say, is on par with something you would expect with like a Yolio, which makes sense given the price point for this frame set. The bottom bracket cups are flat, the caliper mounts appear to have been faced, and the headset bearing cups are super duper smooth. There isn't any extra carbon there that makes the surface rough. Everything just looks really good upon my first initial impressions. And even though the frame is unpainted, the matte finish that you see, or the primer that they use, has been sanded down very well. Super duper smooth. And just overall, the frame just in hand feels really chunky and really robust. Now, finally, guys, moving on to my plans for this frame. So of course, I'm gonna give this frame a really cool custom paint job. I'll probably add some decals. I'm gonna probably pair this bike up with a Shimano hydraulic group set, probably the Ultegra R8020. Of course, I'll add some gravel wheels and at least some all-road tires as well. And I'm gonna test this out to see if this is a bike that you can live with every day. And I'm gonna test to see if it is in fact super versatile as I think that it's going to be. So that's gonna wrap up today's video, guys. A huge thank you to Rinasclta for sending me out this frame set to test out. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. And I will check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and like I said before in the previous video, this year, at least the first half of 2023, the concept is going to be that I'm going to be highlighting some of these brands that either are super under the radar or just a brand that you just really haven't heard of. And that's going to be the case with this Rinasclta. So I'm super excited to get this built up, and now stay tuned for future videos on this channel, on this frame. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I will check you guys on the next one. Peace.